begin with his roots in the Bauhaus School of Design in Dessau, Germany. Bauhaus was one of the very first waves of modernism in the US and actually even in the world. You guys can see that reflection of less is more. That was Mies van der Rohe's personal philosophy towards architecture. He believed that a building's building material should speak for the building itself. Notice little to no ornamentation. They call that style the international style of design. Now, Mies van der Rohe was also a teacher in our city. He taught that style and his less is more philosophy at the Illinois Institute of Technology, but not all of his students agreed with him. One student that disagreed was Bertram Goldberg, and he built right next door. He said, no right angles in nature, there's going to be no right angles in my architecture. This is Marina City, or the corn cobs of the Midwest, if you will. Famous for the two 60-story cylindrical towers, which together have 896 pizza-shaped apartments, referring to them starting out narrow and widening as you walk into them. Marina City were the first residential towers along the Chicago River. They were built in the mid-60s at a time when no one really lived downtown. They are designed conceptually as a city in a city. They had to take into context your lifestyle. They opened up with your apartment, parking garage, boat marina, restaurant, grocery store, bowling alley, 10-story office building, health club, and even a theater, now called the House of Blues. So your entire life could take place almost in one city block. Up next, take a look off on your right and feel free to wave. Wave, guys. Yes, there's something very special about being on a boat, waving to a bunch of people not on boats. They're missing out and they know it, but they're busy. They're either working or enjoying Portofino's Pizzeria, RPM Seafood, or above that, the American Bar Association building, home, of course, to the American Bar Association, consisting of lawyers, not bartenders. Learned that last year from a Will and Grace episode. Happy Pride. Up next on your right, 1914, Reed Murdoch Center, George Nimmons. That's an aggressive wave. I like it. Original red brick masonry and terracotta ornamentation. There are 6 bays of windows to the right-hand side of that clock tower, but there are only 5 off to the left. The building was designed and built symmetrically though, 6 and 6. But the left-hand side had one of the bays removed. The building was then squished back together to make room for the widening of the LaSalle Street Bridge up above you right now. Up next on the right, 300 North LaSalle, Picard and Chilton, 2009. This glass tower stands 784 feet tall and it is LEED certified platinum. Now, LEED stands for Leadership, Environmental, and Energy Design. It is a point system used to measure the green standard of buildings, with platinum being the highest certification awarded. This skyscraper is entirely built out of recycled materials. Next door, we have a former coffee storage facility, now home to Kimball Furniture, Chicago School of Professional Psychology, and on top, DIRT. Spelled with 2 T's. It's actually an acronym. It stands for Do It Right This Time. It's an interior design company focusing on problem solving and solution. If you work there, your job title is Dirtbag. Glad you guys heard that joke. That was a Purple Line train interrupting my tour. Here comes another one. That's a Brown Line train. I take that train home, if anybody cares. Up next on your right, you guys are correct in your first assumptions. This building is very big. This is a Merchandise Mart, 1931, Graham Anderson, Probst & White. Great example of Art Deco. Notice, Indiana limestone facade, strong vertical orientation, setbacks near the top, and geometric shapes throughout. When this building opened up in 1931 at 4.1 million square feet, it was the largest concrete structure in the world. The Hoover Dam has less concrete than this building. It was first used as a way to consolidate 14 warehouses for Marshall Fields. It had to be big. Opened up with 500 showrooms, had 8 miles of corridors, sits on a 5-acre plot, and up until the late 90s, that building had its own zip code. It was bought by the Kennedy family in 1945 for $13 million. The Kennedys resold that building in 1998 for $575 million. Yes, they call that a good investment. And during that process, they made out like bandits. They also held onto developmental rights to the plot of land off on your right. This is Wolf Point. now being developed. We have Wolf Point East right here, a 600-foot tall residential tower. Wolf Point West is behind the construction site that is a 500-foot tall also residential tower. The construction site is their signature South Tower, going to be known as Salesforce Tower, set to be an over 800-foot tall commercial building with the primary tenants being Salesforce. Now, Wolf Point here is not just known for the Kennedy family development, it is also known as a place where Chicago got her start. Back in the 1830s, our city's population was growing very quickly. The incoming population was moving to Wolf Point, where we had our first bridge across the river, ferries across the river, homes, businesses, churches, and of course, our first bars were right here as well. It was in one of those bars that after a couple of shots, we raised a tankard of beer, called our city Chicago, a word we got from the indigenous word for the area, Chautauqua. Come later to learn they were not talking about the land itself. Chautauqua was a reference to the fragrant, smelly onions which grew wild along the banks of our river. 2020 hindsight, we should have skipped the shots. But as it stands today, folks, welcome to Chicago, city of the big smelly onions. Guys, laugh at the jokes. We got 90 minutes of them. Alrighty, we are now on the North Branch. 2 announcements. Number 1, just pay attention. From now on, your attention will go on either end of the vessel. Announcement number 2 is more of a disclaimer. Just be prepared. I am going to say the words luxury condos a lot. Just wait, guys. Off on your right, 2001, James Stefano and Associates, the residences at River Bend. There is a bend in the facade to follow the bend in the river. It comes with townhomes, parking garage, and yes, luxury condos. Next door, 1907, Frank Abbott. This red brick building is the Fulton House, a former cold storage facility. The walls of this building are about 2.5 feet thick. In the early 80s, Harry Reese took over this project to turn it into luxury condos. He began that project though by waiting a full 1.5 years for that building to completely thaw out. Harry Reese then built right next door, always a fan favorite. These are the River Cottages. They are 4 in number, 2 are 5 stories, 2 are 4 stories, and notice a heavy nautical theme. Triangle shapes like sails, portholes, even the railings on the balconies and that spiral staircase looks like they were taken right off a ship. Harry Reese loved sailing on Lake Michigan, so these nautical elements are easily found in the buildings he's designed. Alrighty, off on your right, 1979, Gordon Levin. This is the East Bank Club. It is a large and rather intimidating looking building. But keep in mind, back in 1979, this river was capital D disgusting. Nobody wanted to look at it, live on it, or smell it. The building's design was so its back was to the river. The trees, ivy, walkway, planters, even the windows on this facade were not elements of its original design. They were added in later on once we cleaned up the river. This building, though, is a high-end fitness facility. They have everything you guys could possibly need to stay physically fit. Rooftop pool, indoor running track, indoor tennis courts, volleyball courts, basketball courts, locker rooms, juice bars, and probably motivation. Thank you. It has hosted its fair share of celebrities, including former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, former President Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, and Michael Jordan, all at one time called the East Bank Club their fitness home. That was a treadmill, I think. Up next, left-hand side. Papa George and Haynes, 2002. This is Kinsey Park. Kinsey Park consists of a low-rise, a mid-rise, and 70 of these European-style townhomes. Take note, they each come with their own patio, balcony, and rooftop, because you're worth it. In the early 2000s, these townhomes would have hit the market for about $1.2 million each, which was a gamble at the time. So they opened up a model home to see if people would even want them. And they did. All 70 townhomes had a down payment on them before that development broke ground. This told Chicago to embrace the river, and we did. This is how. Riverbank Lofts, a great example of adaptive reuse. Adaptive reuse is a fun word that basically means we changed the purpose of this building. Completed in 1909 by George and Emmons, this building was originally the Wallace Business Form printing facility. They made things like invoices. Now computerized, it became obsolete. So we turned it into something we needed. Luxury condos. These are particularly soft lofts. They have open floor layouts, 10-foot ceilings, exposed brick, ductwork. They're very popular. Alrighty, chunky segue. Anybody out there know who Montgomery Ward was? A few of you, I like that. Anybody out there have no idea who I am talking about? Love that, a journey. Montgomery Ward was a catalog business owner in the city of Chicago. He owned a catalog business. This functioned a lot like Amazon.com, but was in book form. Now, Montgomery Ward loved our city. He's one of the reasons we have so much green space. So off on your right, we named a park after him. Montgomery Ward Park